It's Monday, January 22nd, 2024, and this is episode 301 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Well, Dr. Mike, first of all, we want to thank our wives for taking part in kind of our silly 300th episode.
Yeah, I thought they were better than us by far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could tell if you actually listened to that first episode. And for those who maybe didn't realize what was happening, yeah, they just read a transcript of our very first episode. And one thing that occurred to me was, oh my gosh, I talked so much more than you did.
Yeah, you did. Well, you always do.
Well, that is true, I guess, because I like to try to keep the podcast moving and provide information and what have you. But
right.
The character Dr. Mike did not really come out in that first episode.
No, because I think we were kind of unsure of what we were going to do.
Yeah, there was some nerves there. And, as I'm going back, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, so many uhs and you knows and pauses that I could have gotten rid of. But anyway, yes, our wives did a great job. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we should probably use them for stand-ins every now and then. We can take a week off.
Yeah, that would be good. It would be kind of nice to hear them oh my God. Did you hear what Mike said the other day? Oh, I know. And Mark went to the casino and did this. And just
right. Yeah. All the dirty
check.
Little secrets would come out, Mark.
Yeah. They probably should start their own podcast. Maybe that'll be our Patreon. We've kind of avoided Patreon because we're thinking, we want to give something a little extra if we do Patreon. Maybe it'll be them. Oh, did you listen to this week's episode? Yes. It's just them.
Yeah.
Again, thanks to them. And I tossed around the idea of maybe you and I recording a new episode and then having them read the transcript of that. So it would be just, new. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the logistics of it and trying to get it out on time. And I was talking to Sherry. She said, I'm glad you didn't do that. Because, with new stuff, they basically just be reading. It's hard to, when you're just reading a transcript of people who are having a real conversation,
right.
It's hard to sometimes get the inflection right, know exactly what they're saying, because we don't speak like we write. If we're writing something down, it's very clear and, you can read it and it kind of makes sense. But reading a transcript, it's tough. So,
the inflection in speech. Yeah. That's why, we lose a lot in society with text messages and emails and things like that.
You can't, I was being sarcastic in that text. Well, then you should have tagged it with sarcasm because you can't tell.
Right. Or put some emoji that, the person
rolling
could know
your
what
eyes.
you're...
Yeah. All right, Dr. Mike. So we may hit a 400th episode. We should start thinking about what we're going to do for that. I may have more time on my hands, then I'll probably be retired. So maybe we can get really ambitious or something.
I'll tell you something funny, Mark, getting back to emails and texts. Mm-hmm. I tried to put on Schoology some stuff for my current events in science class.
All right, and what is Schoology?
Well, Schoology's a thing that they get on their computer, and it's on my computer, and then you put on there like their grades.
Okay.
It does everything.
Yeah, it's a way to communicate. Okay.
Yeah, you can send messages to parents or to kids or whoever has access to that course. Anyway, I tried to put some stuff on there for them, and it shows up on my computer, but all the class could not get it to come up on theirs. And the class and I spent like a whole class period trying to figure it out, how to get it on there, and we just couldn't figure it out. So a couple days later, I send out an email, and I guess it went to all of my classes, and it just said, I hate computers, nothing else.
So who did you intend to send it to?
Just to the classes, and the current events. But I sent it to all the classes, I think.
Oh, so like
they came in and say, what is this? I hate computers. And I told them the truth. They said, it's just a statement. It's how I feel.
Oh, that is so perfect that Dr. Mike inadvertently sent an email to way more people than he intended. That's perfect.
That only said, I hate computers. There's no other context or anything.
See, this is the kind of thing that was missing from our very first episode.
Right. Those stories. Oh, they were happening then, too.
Right. We just didn't feel comfortable. What? Why are we talking about this? It's a gambling show.
And I was younger. I was more sensitive.
Yeah. All right. Hey, you got some new T-shirts made for us.
Yes. We used a different printer.
Yeah.
And got some new T-shirts there. These are much nicer shirts.
These are nicer shirts, so they are up on our store. If you just go to our website, youcanbetonthat.com. Up towards the top, you'll see a link that says You Can Bet on That store, and we've got those T-shirts on there now. Yeah, these are nicer shirts. So
yeah, and I'm hoping to get hats and hoodies, maybe.
Yeah, you got to branch out. The Crap Vegas boys, they had stuff ready to go like from day one. And what are we up here, like 12 years?
Yeah, well, look at them and look at us, Mark. It's kind of self-explanatory.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. Is that an insult to us? I hope.
Yeah, to us.
Okay.
I mean, they've got it together. We're kind of free willy-nilly. I've actually seen both of them leave a table when it's pretty cold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that never happens.
I don't think I've seen that with us ever.
No, we stay in there. We bear through it. So there right. You go.
Yeah, we'll have a call coming up talking kind of about that and the 10 suggestions you gave to Bert last episode, right? Basically saying, don't give up, go get more money and keep fighting. All right. Hey, recently a listener told us that in a casino on a cruise ship he was on, the minimum for buying the 4 and 10 was $100. And we were trying to figure out why. Well, because they can, because there's no other game in town when you're out in the middle of the ocean. Well, listener Jeff wrote in with a theory. He says, as it's a $25 table, perhaps they don't want to deal with $1 chips. And that kind of occurred to me, too. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, maybe they just don't want to. You think you'd still have to have $1 chips on the table. Maybe the center action has a $5 minimum. But, if you're making place bets, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to make, say, a $42 bet on the 6.
Right, exactly.
So you would need dollar chips. I just can't imagine they'd have a table that had no dollar chips whatsoever.
And it would kind of hurt their staff, right? Because a lot of times you're making a $6 place bet on 6 for the dealers, right?
Yeah, or something like, you throw, even if it is a $5 minimum on the center action, you should be able to throw in a $1 tip for the crew, right? Oh, yeah, right. $1 hard and, 6 for you.
And
guys.
The waitresses coming around, some people might I don't want to give them a 5, I'd rather give them $3 or I just can't believe they wouldn't have dollar chips.
Yeah, the original caller didn't say anything about that. So even though that's not a bad theory, I'm thinking that's not the case. But then Jeff follows up with kind of an interesting question. Given the clientele on a $25 table, do you think not having $1 chips would reduce tokes or increase them in the long run? And I think that actually is going to have 2 answers. If you're talking about a cruise ship where people are basically, that's, again, the only game in town, I'm thinking that it would hurt tipping the dealers, right? They'd be less likely to. Whereas like at a casino in Vegas where there are a lot of different choices and maybe people have chosen to go to a $25 table, then I think the tips might actually increase.
I agree with that.
If they didn't have dollar chips. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Saying that they would go up because there's no dollars in a cruise ship doesn't really make sense because you're forced to play at that table.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think it'd go down. Yeah.
Yeah. And number 2, even people I've seen plenty of people who bet really big and then tipping is not with 5s.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, if anybody finds out a reason other than the casino, just wants you to bet more when you buy the 4 and 10.
Right.
Let us know.
Maybe they're thinking too, the casino's not open all the time, right? On these cruise ships. So, maybe they're just thinking, hey, we need to up the limits to make more money. Otherwise, it's not that profitable for us.
Yeah, but we're talking about just buy bets on the 4 and 10. Upping the limits, I understand that. But,
that's what I mean by the limits are up. Yeah, the buy bets on the 4 and 10, it's just pure greed, Mark.
Okay, that's a better answer, Dr. Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just pure greed.
Okay. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can betonThat.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to our voicemails. First up is Nick.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick from Colorado. Longtime listener, third or fourth time caller. The way I consume the show is binge style, so I let a few episodes come out, and then I listen to 2 to 5 at a time in one big chunk. And I recently caught up on like a 6-bunch episode all at once. So I have some things from a couple of the past episodes as well as a recent trip report. One of the episodes, you guys had a caller asking about if there were any UK craps left. And then I think the next episode, a different caller leaves a voicemail about a version that the UK still has where it's modeled after baseball. And Mark, when you were explaining the game, it was essentially getting around the bases with rolls that aren't a 7. As in, you had to roll anything but a 7 4 times in a row to get a home run. And then your bet would pay even money. I was pretty surprised when I heard this, and maybe even more so that you guys didn't talk about this part of it. But isn't that specific game plus EV for the player in the long run? Or am I just not understanding this, or possibly just an idiot when it comes to math? From my understanding, if a 7 is going to be rolled on average every 6 rolls, isn't it plus EV for the player to bet the positive, pass line bet that there will be 4 rolls without a 7? Why aren't we all just flying out to the UK and betting, say, 1/100th of our bankroll on this bet over and over forever and slowly grinding out a profit for a living? What am I missing here? And then on the episode published on Christmas Day, another Nick called in and told the story about the crap shooter who went on a 30-minute roll without rolling a 6. Pretty incredible. And that there was a guy at that table with only $27 left to bet, and that it was on the 6 the whole entire time. My question for you guys is, if one of you were in that situation where you only had enough chips left to put on one place number, and let's say a different number hits 3 to 5 times in a row, are you the type of people where you guys would want to switch it over, or do you keep it on your original place bet? If I was in that situation, I feel like halfway through that roll, with only $27 on the 6, I would have moved that over to the 8, no hesitation. I'm almost at my 3 minutes, so I will call you guys back for my trip report. Thanks for everything you guys do. Hope you had a great new year, and happy 2024.
All right, I'll start with my boring answer. No, I would not move the bet because it really doesn't matter that a 6 hasn't come up. What about you, Dr. Mike?
That's a hard one to answer for me, because if I only had $27 left, I would either A, not go to the table at all, or I would go get some more money, because I hate putting all my eggs in one basket like that.
All right. Theoretical question for you. Go ahead.
But if I was posed with that situation, I'd be like you. I'd leave it there, because in my mind, I know the moment I move it, 6 is going to be rolled. Yeah. And whatever I move it to is never coming up again anyway.
Right.
So I would just leave it
no
there.
Matter what you do, you're not going to win any money. So That's a good attitude to have when you're gambling anyway.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. I'm not going to win.
All right, so let's talk about Diceball a little bit. First, just for clarification, it was Eamon who called in to talk about Diceball. He had originally called with a London report, but he actually saw Diceball at the Holland Casino in Amsterdam. So the main bet in Diceball is, yes, a 7 will not come up in the next 4 rolls. And it's not as simple as, the chances of rolling a 7 are 1 in 6. It happens 1 every 6 rolls, and you only have to get by 4 rolls. You have to do the math on each individual roll and combine them. What do I mean by that? All right, well, what's the chance of not rolling a 7 on a single roll? Well, there are 36 combinations on the dice, and 30 of those are not a 7. So that's about 83.3%. So on any given roll, your chances of not rolling a 7 are 83.3%. So to figure out the chances of not rolling a 7 on 4 rolls, you've got to multiply 83.3% by itself 4 times. So 83.3% to the 4th. That comes out to about 48.2%. So that means that not rolling a 7 in 4 rolls will happen less than half the time, 48.2%.
House will have a 1.8% advantage on it.
So that's why it is a losing bet in the long run when it just pays even money. So there you go. Yeah, the math turned out to be a little more complicated than just looking at 1 out of 6 versus 1 out of 4.
Math is hard.
It's the best.
It's good, but it's hard.
It can be hard. You could study math your whole life and just confuse yourself on one little equation like, oops, I got that backwards.
Yeah, very easy to do. Ask any dealer, math is hard.
This isn't exactly the same, but remember that Mars rover that crashed into the planet because they were calculating using feet and yards instead of the metric system, or vice versa. It was something like that.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was thinking, isn't there a whole group of people checking all the work?
Yes, there is.
Is it just Bill over there? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake.
Bill said it was okay.
I would think if you're spending like a gazillion dollars on some spacecraft or something, that you check it over pretty good before you send it out.
It was an embarrassment, no question. All right, let's hear from Jessica.
Hey, guys. This is Jessica from Missouri calling back. I hope you guys had a really nice Christmas. I am calling because it's one of those situations of what our casino's thinking. And I want to know if people are having kind of the same issue with their local casinos that I am with mine. Boonville is my home casino. And I don't know if it's because they don't have any competition, but their comps have just gone in a terrible way. I used to play in blackjack for hours and hours and hours. I could get comps for cigarettes and I could get comps for food, and it was the people in the pit could just give me whatever they wanted. And then they started doing this system where you have to get tickets with your card and do all these things, and I really don't feel like I was really getting any type of benefit from using my player's card. So I just kind of stopped doing it because I felt like the casino was getting a lot more information from me than they were giving back to me in the form of free things. So anyway, I'm considering there's a casino in St. Louis that's, I think, the Hollywood Casino. I've heard a lot about that, but it's like a 2-hour drive. So I don't know if people are just, if this is something that's just happening across the board or if it's really just my local casino. So if maybe some listeners could pipe in on that, that'd be great. Thanks, guys. Love your show. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, the Boonville Casino she's talking about, I assume that's Isle of Capri, which is part of Caesars Rewards. Now, it was part of Eldorado Resorts before Caesars and Eldorado merged. So there's some background. I don't know if that helps explain maybe why the comps are going down, but are people seeing that their local casinos are not offering the comps that they used to? Or maybe it's a Caesars problem. Are people seeing that Caesars is not offering comps like they used to? Now, Dr. Mike, you and I don't go to the casino as much. I did talk about how my comps basically disappeared at Harrah's Southern California. I shouldn't say comps, I should say free play, because that's really what happened. Now, again, I don't know if that has anything to do with what Jessica's talking about, or again, Harrah's Southern California just thought, hey, we're losing too much money to free play. But what are people's experiences? Let us know.
I think a lot of these casinos, and she made a point of saying that, they're the only game in town. There's nothing close by.
Yeah.
I think they offer a bunch of comps and free play and stuff. And once you're hooked, right, you want to go play blackjack or something, you're still going to go, even if the comps aren't as good. Maybe the free play is not there. And until you don't go, they're going to keep it like that. And then when you stop going, then they're going to try and entice you to come back by maybe giving you a month of better comps and better free play.
Yeah.
And, maybe do that for a couple months and then you're kind of hooked again. It's this vicious cycle that they're putting you through.
Yeah, it could be. Now, I don't think you've been to Diamond Joe for a while, but have you experienced a lack of comps or a
mine have gone
comps?
down a little bit. My free play's gone down a little.
Do you think that's because you just haven't been in a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been, and now the weather is not conducive to driving 2 hours there. But it might have gone down a little bit. Mark, I was surprised they haven't gone down that much.
Okay.
I would get like $600 on a Friday or Saturday, and now it's like $5.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, again, listeners, let us know if you're experiencing what Jessica is. Jessica, we would still suggest that you use your card unless it really is a hassle. You were talking about how they're getting more info from you than they're giving back. I'm not sure what they're expecting you to do, but again, we'd still encourage you to do it because you're at least getting something back. But again, if it's a hassle, we understand.
Well, and if that doesn't work, just throw a hissy fit.
Yeah, throw a hissy fit, and in front of the pit and the dealers, crunch up your card. Kind of bend it back and forth and destroy it, and then throw it in the trash. That's another classic Dr. Mike move.
If you just keep bending it, eventually breaks, and then you take the two halves and bend them and everything, and set it right there on the table in front of them.
And yeah, that'll show them.
That'll teach them.
All right, let's hear from Dave.
Hey, Sherry, Dr. Lynn, I just loved that episode. Thank you very much for all that cool information.
All right, well, thanks, Dave. I'm surprised they got a call. I don't think they gave out a number on their show.
Yeah, that's true. They still got a call. That's how good they are.
All right, we're going to hear from Dave again a little bit later. Next up is Anthony.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Anthony from Missouri here. I'm just giving a quick call, going out to Vegas, and about a month from when this would air, I think. We were staying at Caesar's Palace. I know I'd emailed y'all and asked about what you would suggest. So we're celebrating my birthday and going to stay at the Augustus Tower. But at Caesars, I know they have a pretty good poker room, and I played some recreational poker with some friends here, but haven't actually done poker in a poker room. So was wanting some tips from y'all what to do. I know Mark's the big poker player more in Vegas or so. Maybe some advice, things to think about, and how to maximize maybe getting some money too. Thanks for what y'all do, and look forward to hearing from y'all.
Okay, good question. Mike, I wrote some suggestions down here, and maybe you can chime in as well.
Yeah.
One of the things I would suggest is watch for a while first to learn the mechanics of a casino poker game and to see how the other players play. And you can even do this before you sit down at a table. Now, players might not like it if you just stand there and stare for a long time, but you can kind of walk around and stop every once in a while to see what's happening because it'll probably be different than your home game. Players, once you do sit down, you'll notice that players are probably playing a lot tighter than the players in your home game. A lot of folding pre-flop, that kind of thing. So be aware of that. And then when you do start playing, play tight aggressive. That's good, solid advice for poker playing. Be tight, get rid of those bad starting hands. And when you've got something, be aggressive. Go in there, start raising.
Yeah, particularly on a table that's got a lot of tight players.
Right.
Because sometimes you have to push them around a little bit, and you got to do that when you got the hands. So,
yeah. What do you think, Mike? Any other suggestions?
No, those are all good suggestions. Although when I'm walking around, if I were you, I'd stop behind a table and just the crankiest, oldest looking dude on the table, get right up next to him and put your head right next to his and say, "Do you mind if I watch?"
More good advice from Dr. Mike. I guess one more thing that I'd say is maybe keep your initial session short. Maybe play for like an hour and then take a break so you can sort of process what you've experienced.
Yeah, and evaluate how you played.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than get stuck in a situation where you go all in with top pair, second kicker, and, you lose all your money. So,
yeah. And I guess, Mark, the one thing that I would suggest, and this always works in every poker game and every home game I ever played in, the more you complain, the better your hands will be.
Oh, that's true. We have solid evidence from our home game. That the more you complain, the more likely you are to win a big hand.
Yep. That's scientifically proven.
All right. Well, good luck, Anthony. It's always exciting to play in a casino for the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, but you're going to find it Not as exciting as your home game.
But you're probably not going to have as much fun from a social aspect, right? Because you're probably playing with your buddies in your home game and you're laughing and drinking and that kind of thing. And yeah, with a bunch of strangers playing against each other, wanting, each other's money, I'm sure they'll be cordial, but it won't quite be the same.
Yeah, tight has a different meaning.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from our buddy Ethan.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Ethan from Virginia. First, I want to congratulate you both on 300 episodes. I've been listening to you all since around July 2015. I believe the first episode was number 76 about average daily theoretical. I was thinking about Dr. Mike's 10 rules from last week, and I will say that he does stand and play by them. The first time I played with Dr. Mike was during his MGM trip back in April of 2017. He got wrecked on his first bullet while I was watching, and then he went up to the cage, got a second bullet, and moved from a $25 table to a $50 table, really stepping on the accelerator. Listeners can go back and listen to episode number 124 and hear my trip report if they want to find out how that second bullet turned out for him. I have a couple stories for you guys. I recently got married at the end of October. My wife and I took our honeymoon to Australia and New Zealand. We went to Sydney and stopped by the Star Casino. We went to Cairns to dive the Great Barrier Reef and also stopped by the Reef Casino. Due to a flight cancellation, we ended up having a night in Brisbane where we were able to go to the Treasury Casino, which is in an old Treasury building, so the gaming floor is all broken up into different levels, and there's like really small rooms with banks of slot machines and fireplaces. Very weird layout, but was a very interesting casino. Then in New Zealand, we went to the Sky City Casino in Queenstown and the Sky City Casino in Auckland, where I was able to play the Snake Eyes-based craps-based game that listener Ian had talked about. Overall, it was a losing trip gambling-wise, but I managed to get casino chips from each of those casinos, and I did find out that I have a very, very patient wife who indulged me in going to a casino in literally every single city that we went to. And now on for some actual gambling stories. And again, these have to do with Dr. Mike's advice from the last episode. I was playing poker at Hollywood Casino over in Charlestown, and I was playing 1-2 no limit hold'em. They had a high hand promotion going on, and any high hands that had not hit throughout the day got added on and rolled over, and they were going to start paying them in rapid succession starting at 10 p.m. So you would get $200 instantly for the first 7 people who had high hands, which the qualification was aces full. Now, I was playing and had gotten down to about $30, and I usually do not add on because I don't think I play well when I'm chasing, so if I lose a bullet, I usually leave. However, I added on 50, and the reason I did that also is because it was just about to hit 10 p.m. I got pocket kings. It was raised $20 to me. I re-raised to 40. Gets back to the original raiser. He jams. I call. I ended up tabling my hand. He didn't, but when he saw my kings, he said I was ahead. I did hit a king on the flop, and then there was a king on the turn, so I hit quads. He mucked his cards. I ended up winning the pot, plus the $200 high hand. Unfortunately, while waiting for the high hand payout, I kept playing and ended up losing, so I only ended up leaving with the high hand payout, which was still pretty nice. I thought it was weird I got a W2G for the $200, but I guess because it's a gift or something, they said that they had to fill out a tax form. Thought that was very weird. But anyway, maybe I should have stopped after I hit the high hand, but had I not kept playing, I would have been an even bigger loser and at least not left with anything. And then my very next trip to the casino, I was just, again, running into it. I'd have top pair, be out-kicked. I would make trips. They would have a boat. I was in for 220. I added on, again, thinking about Dr. Mike's advice, added on 50 and had gotten down to $12. From that point, I went all in with $12 and got up to 30. I went all in the next hand, went from 30 to 60. 2 hands later, I went all in order to turn the 60 into 120, winning those 3 hands almost in a row. Thought about leaving because I just cracked over $100, and I said, well, I just paid the big blind, so I figure I might as well play the rest of the orbit. I ended up looking down at ace 10. Flop came king, queen, jack, so I flopped a straight. My opponent raised. I re-raised. He jammed. I called. He had top 2, and my straight ended up holding. The rest of the hands were not very interesting, but I did manage to get a few more small wins and ended up cashing at 300 for a small $30 profit. I don't want to sound ungrateful to the gambling gods, but I do wish that I could go all in 4 times in very, very quick succession before being down to $12. Sorry, Mark, but Dr. Mike might be onto something about adding back on and continuing to play. Thanks again for all that you do. It's been an amazing almost 9 years listening to you guys, and I hope to listen to you guys for many more years. Thanks again. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We should, very first thing is congratulate Ethan on number 1, getting married,
Yeah.
and number 2, finding a wife who is willing to go to all the casinos with him.
Exactly. Congratulations, Ethan.
He might be the luckiest guy we've heard from this year.
Yeah, it could be. Now, I still cannot condone this kind of Dr. Mike behavior from listeners. Despite the fact that, Ethan, it sounds like it worked for you. And in fact, if you hadn't gone the Dr. Mike route, you might have actually lost a lot of money. I still can't condone it.
You know what I find funny is that he said, well, why doesn't this happen to me like at the beginning?
Yeah.
Why don't I get 4 good hands in a row and just get up a bunch of money? Why do I have to be down to my last $12 before that happens? And the answer, Ethan, is very simple, because that's what happens. It always happens that way.
Dr. Mike goes on and on. He has brought that up before. Why couldn't we have won when we first got here? Then we would have had money to play with.
It's always, we go and we're down and we're a little depressed. And then, sometimes we make a big comeback and we end up winning for the night. And I'm thinking, why did this happen at the beginning?
We feel your pain, Ethan. Ethan,
Yep.
I'm thinking maybe the tax form that you got for that high hand payout was not a W-2G, but in fact a 1099 miscellaneous. That's what they'll give out like for drawings at casinos, because you haven't actually won a wager. It's just a jackpot.
It's like bonus money.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it's a different tax form. And that's why, since it was only $200, they still had to give you a form. If it was a W-2G situation, yeah, the amount would have had to have been higher. But this was a 1099 miscellaneous situation.
Yeah, and Ethan, I'm not a tax person or CPA or anything, but I just tear that up and throw it in the trash.
All right. Once again, the opinions expressed by Dr. Mike do not. All right. Let's move on. Let's hear from Nick again.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike, this is Nick from Colorado calling back to finish up with my trip report. So I travel pretty often for work, and I recently went up to Montana. I get into this small town, and they have a lot of, in air quotes, casinos peppered around. Come to find out, they aren't really casinos at all. They're just restaurants or bars or rooms with a bunch of slot machines in them. Apparently, table games are not yet legal there. I didn't know that. So there is a loophole in the law. Bars or poker rooms can run a legal tournament as long as the total number of players is 30 or less. At least that's what I was told when I was visiting a bar with a tournament on the weeknight I happened to be in town. So the tournament that night had 24 players, 3 tables of 8. There was an $80 buy-in, no rebuys allowed. First place won $840, second place won $500, and third place won $340. So for me, I am slightly above average in terms of skill level when it comes to No Limit Texas Hold'em, which was the format of this tournament, but I am far from an expert. I play tight aggro, and I quickly realized after a couple orbits here that many of the people that were playing in this tournament were just there, it seemed like, to burn $80 and gamble. I'm talking pre-flop shoves that would be called down, and the original aggressor had 4-6 suited, just really crazy stuff. A lot of calling stations, a lot of very obvious bluffing with busted draws, that sort of stuff. I played pretty good poker, in my opinion. I was only all in 5 times, and all of them, when the cards were turned over, regardless of where that was in the hand, I had gotten my money in with the best of it, so that was nice. I did make the final table, and then I very quickly into the final table won a triple up. 3 of us were all in all at the same time. I had trips, and one of the other guys had top pair, and one of the other guys had a busted flush draw. And then I played very conservative from there, as I had a huge stack, and I really wanted to cash. I did indeed make the final 3 without ever getting to showdown. I did win a couple of pots, pre-showdown, but like I said, played very conservatively and didn't play a lot of hands. And then shortly after making the final three, the short stack was eliminated by the other guy. So now I'm heads up. 5 orbits in, I look down at pocket queens. I decided to shove pre because he was very aggressive and he called with a7 of diamonds. The flop came diamond, 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 and that was it. But that's poker, and it was a fun $420 profit. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, good story, Nick. Yeah, you got your money in good and just got unlucky. That's part of playing.
That's poker.
Poker, yeah. So Montana has plenty of bars and restaurants that offer both poker cash games and tournaments. Not sure where you were playing, Nick, and why they said tournaments were only allowed if the total participants were 30 or fewer. We've never heard of that. All we know is that, you have to have a license with Montana to offer these games, but we've never heard of a 30-person limit. Now, there is a cap on the size of pots in cash games of $800, unless they've repealed that recently. We haven't heard. But there is an $800 total pot cap on the cash games. But anyway, if anybody else has additional information on Montana casinos, basically slot parlors and poker rooms and bars and restaurants, let us know.
Yeah, there's a lot of those little slot parlors.
Yeah.
where, it's just like in a strip mall, and there's a little building that, normally would house like a nail shop or, something like that. And then there's just 50 or 40 slot machines in there. Mm. But yeah, it'd be kind of fun to have a place like that where you go and play in just a tournament.
Yeah, it sounds like, maybe the 30 maximum that's how many tables they have, right? They can't accommodate more than that.
Right.
But yeah, if you just wanted to ensure just a little intimate tournament. All right, let's hear from our friend Ariel.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike. This is the Trip Report. So we're here in Laughlin. We're here from Friday to Monday today. Still here, actually. We're going to leave in about 20 minutes or so. They had no craps on Sunday night. So Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, they opened like around 6 or 7. And then no craps the rest of the time. That was pretty wild. So played some games. So lost some money on the slot machine, but made it all back. Plus a little some on like playing craps. So that was fun. But interesting that they don't have a lot of people on craps. All right. Well, you guys have a good time. Hopefully you guys get together and have some meetups. Appreciate everything that you guys do. Take care.
Yeah, now Ariel didn't say where he was staying. I'm assuming it was Harrah's in Laughlin, only because, we see him at Harrah's Southern California. So I'm guessing maybe he was on a junket or something. You and I have talked about maybe going to Laughlin. Gosh, if the craps tables are, not open 24/7, that may be a problem. Now, again, maybe this is only happening at Harrah's, and Harrah's is kind of set apart from some of the other casinos. So I don't know, something we might need to investigate.
Yeah, we'd have to investigate that. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Ariel, so I hope next time I'm in San Diego that we go out there, we see some of the old gang. Yeah.
Any plans right now for any trips out here soon?
Well, it's kind of touch and go with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to make a trip and then a week later something happens and I got to make another trip just because of work and money and time and stuff. So.
All right. Well, stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, soon I probably will make a trip. It's going to be one of those last minute things.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, if we don't announce it on the show, we'll certainly put it up on Twitter or X or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever it's called when we do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Dave again.
Hi, guys. It's Dave from Northern New Jersey again. I just finished listening to episode 300. That was such a hoot. So many other podcasts have done interesting things for their retrospective, but nothing like that. That is fantastic. I remember some of those stories from episode 1, particularly the giant blackjack table you talk about. I'm about to start listening to the episode again because Sherry and Lynn did such a fantastic job. I guess the only real question I have is Lynn a doctor? Keep up the good work, guys. Thanks.
Hey, Dr. Mike, does Lynn have any kind of doctorate?
She does not have a doctorate. She was a nurse.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She worked in
for many
right?
years. Yeah, she worked in surgery, trauma surgery. Yeah, she has had multiple careers, Mark.
That's wow.
But she does not have a doctorate.
We should have had her refer to herself as Nurse Lynn. On the recording, it didn't even occur to me yet.
Nurse Lynn. There you go.
Yeah, it's so funny because the episode includes some things that are not terribly timely, like that big blackjack table, like some TV recommendations for shows that are long forgotten.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they need to bring back that big blackjack.
Yeah.
It's not even really a table.
No.
Big blackjack pad.
All right. Next call.
Hi, guys. It's Rev Dan from Tulsa. I've got a very quick trip update for you guys and then a few questions. My wife and I were out in Phoenix a few weeks ago for New Year's Eve and snuck away for just about an hour or two to the Talking Stick Casino. I basically went straight to the craps table and straight out, so I don't really have a casino report for you, but the craps table was great, $15 minimums. I think there were 4 other tables that were being played at one time. And it was mostly a losing night until on my last roll hit the all tall small for the first time ever, which was obviously very exciting, brought me back just a little bit above even, so we decided to walk away. And I got to thinking, I think that probably has me up in total on the all tall small. I've not been playing craps that long. And it made me think about you guys and the fire bet. So I started listening to you all in early 22, and I'm totally caught up and listen as soon as the next one comes out. But a few months ago, started listening from the very beginning, and I'm a little halfway through 2017 right now. And so not too long ago in the episodes I was listening to, you guys hit your second fire bet. And I know after the first one, you all talked about, are we up or down? And Dr. Mike thought you were probably up, and Mark said, no, definitely we're down. And I just wonder, after hitting that second one and not too long of a span, and I don't think you addressed it on the show, would that put you up in your life on the fire bet or not? Just curious if you have any thoughts on that. And was also just wondering about any other bets that you guys have won with huge odds. Obviously, the all tall smalls won, but any others out there that you can think of, maybe that are more than 50 to 1, 100 to 1, 200 to 1. For me, the only one I can think of was high card flush hitting the 4-card straight flush. I think paid me 60 to 1. I did that at Harvey's in Lake Tahoe, and I hit it one other time in Las Vegas. I can't remember the resort, and then a few straight flushes on 3-card poker. But other than the all tall small I just hit, that's certainly the biggest one, and couldn't think of any others, but wondered what input you all might have on that. Love the show. Appreciate you guys and what you do, and I hope you're having a great new year.
Thanks, Dan. I haven't hit any real big side bets. Mike, you've hit the fire bet. You've hit all small, tall. You've hit the big payouts on the repeater bets. Are there any other big side bets that you've hit?
Well, I don't know if a slot machine counts, but
I would say no, because you have had a big slot machine hit. $15,000 on like a $3 bet. But any table games, side bets?
Well, 3-card poker. Okay. I've hit a few, that paid well.
Okay, but not like 100 to 1 or more.
No. Yeah. I remember one time at Caesar's Palace, my dad missed getting a royal flush of diamonds on his 3-card poker. Hand, where you combine with the dealer.
Oh, it's like a super royal flush, right? Where you have to have the 9 of diamonds flush as well. Yeah. 9 through
and he missed it by 1 card, then 9. He still got paid quite a bit for getting the royal, but he missed the 9, and it would have paid $1 million.
Yeah, that with diamonds, yeah.
It just happened to be that I was playing craps right next to him. And my mom was watching him, my sister, and I think Lynn was standing next to me, and we all just gasped like, oh my God, he could have been $1 million. We would have never heard the end of that.
So are we up for the fire bet? So we didn't mention this in a lot of early episodes, but I rarely bet the fire bet.
You're definitely up.
When we would talk about the fire bet, hey, we won. I was actually betting for Dr. Mike. He would give me money to bet on my spot so that he could have more action than the maximum bet would allow for one person. So all those 1,000 for 1 fire bets that have been hit, those have been Dr. Mike. The only time that I really bet the fire bet regularly was back when Harrah's was offering free play in the form of table game chips, but they were one-time use. And they didn't realize that they were kind of making a mistake when they paid off the fire bets when people would use these free bet chips. And without going into a lot of detail, it was still a bad bet, but it was actually the best bet on the table to use these free bet chips on.
Right.
And anyway, that was only for a period of like a couple months. And one time we hit 5 out of the 6 numbers. And so, that pays $250 for one. And so, yeah, I probably am up for the fire bet. And I'm definitely up for all small tall after this last trip to Vegas. What do you think, Mike, for you on the fire bet? Because you have hit that 1,000 for one several more times since even our second one.
Yes. And I think I'd have to say I'm probably up, Mark, because remember when we hit like first ones, I'm getting $10,000.
Yeah.
5 for myself and 5 for you. So yeah, I'd say I very well could be up. I don't know. But if I'm down, it's very little.
Okay. I don't know that even that's true. I would say you're absolutely down. But
you think
again,
so?
I think so. Yeah. I think
we stopped playing the fire bet. After they got the all tall, all small.
No, you keep betting the fire bet. So you don't usually bet on my spot anymore.
No.
But you still bet it. Yeah. There's no way to prove it one way or the other, but I'm pretty sure you're down. Yeah. With all the hours that we put in, I can't prove it. You might be right.
Yeah. $5 a pop.
Well,
I guess.
$10 a pop if you're betting on my spot too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have no idea really.
Okay. Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm up several $1 million that somehow I've misplaced in my house somewhere.
I'll start keeping track for you. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Keep track. I'll let you know how many. That means I got to count how many all tall, all small bets I've made. And
everything. I want you to write down every single roll and every single bet you made.
Well, I did that one night for you.
I think I did it for you more than.
No, remember I did it that one night. I kept track.
Oh, when I wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was texting you every single roll, right?
That's right.
I texted you every single roll. That took so much time away from my lifespan that I'm never doing that again.
We have fun. All right, next call.
Hello, you can bet on that. I just wanted to ask a question or two about craps ratings. If you had any insight onto how those mythical ratings are calculated, it seems like don't really get anything. You get very little rating points. I played a session where I would bet $100 on each of the even numbers, so $4.50 average bet, and I got maybe $7 an hour, in comp. And, looking at House Ed, and, if they give 20% of your comp and whatever, I guess that sort of works out, but man, how are people hitting all these high tiers? I guess you just got to play a ton of hours, and your bet size is sort of secondary. It seems like it's just not worth it to bet big to try to get good ratings. And it's weird because I don't see them updating the rating when I'm changing my bets, like when I go higher or lower. Do you think it's just at the end of the session, they just kind of pick a number and put it in for you? They might ask the boxman, like, hey, what was that guy betting? Is that how it works? I don't know. What are some tips and tricks to try to get your rating up? But other than that, a session I had recently was very fun, where it was basically 2 hours of everyone trying to hit the all tall small. Nobody could do it, but the table wasn't super cold. It was like number, 7 out, number, 7 out. So I was basically coasting, not really making anything, not really losing anything. And then finally somebody made them all, which meant I made my money too. Everyone was happy. Great session, made about $1,000. But the more fun part about that is after that, I went and played Keno for the first time. They had, one of those multi-game things where you can do different video pokers in Keno. And the other day I had heard a hand pay song coming out of this specific machine, and the guy was playing Keno. And so I went to that same machine and was like, well, I'll give it a try. And within my 10th try or something, betting $2, I got an 8,000 to 1 payout, and it was on quarters. So it was a $2,000 hand pay. Apparently I hit 8 numbers out of 10. Apparently that's super rare. All I know is it was awesome. I was super happy. It totally caught me off guard. Was not expecting it. Yeah, anyway, that's my craps and Keno story, and thank you for your podcast. And my name is Raymond, by the way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Raymond, and congratulations on that nice hit. Yeah, we have used the word voodoo when it comes to getting rated on table games and in particular craps. Raymond didn't say where he was playing, but that can have a lot to do with it as well. Yeah, if you were betting the way that you said, Raymond, you should be looking at about $50 an hour in comps, not $7. So, yeah, it'll depend on the casino, depend on the crew.
It depends on if there's a boxman too,
right? And if the boxman
or if it's just some pit guy who's watching like 6 tables.
Some of the worst that we've seen, or at least our perception, is Caesar's Palace always comes to mind, where they're just really not paying much attention to what you're betting or how you're changing your bets, anything like that.
Yeah, it's like they don't even care.
Yeah. But here's some suggestions for you, Raymond. First of all, make your big bets when you first start playing. So if maybe you go like $100 on each of the numbers, maybe on the first roll when the pit is watching or the boxman, again, whoever's taking down your information, sliding your card, maybe put $200 on each number just to start. And that's how they initially get you into the system. Don't be afraid to ask what they're rating you at. They usually will tell you, I've got you down for, $200. They say, I've got $400 in action. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll bump you up. So definitely ask.
Yeah, you got to be the squeaky wheel. Definitely have to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, unfortunately you do. And also announce when you are increasing your bets. Maybe it's a hot roll or maybe it's not a hot roll, but you're going to bet a little bit differently. I do that all the time. And I kind of try to be humorous about it, so that I'm not being a jerk or insisting on it. I'll say, hey, Jerry, I'm going to change the way I play right now. Do whatever you need to do with your little buttons there, just try to be, funny. But, because they may not notice. You were talking about at the end, do they ask the box or the dealers? Well, maybe they do, but that's not going to be as accurate as, hey, look, I used to buy the 4 for $100. Now I'm doing it for $500. So.
Yeah, unless there's a dedicated boxman right there who's plugging stuff in. That's one great thing I love about Diamond Joe here. There's always a boxman.
Love tables that have a box that is always sitting there.
Just always sitting there. They go on break. Another guy comes and sits there for the break. Yeah. And they're constantly adjusting they've got the little computer thing next to them and they're constantly putting stuff in like, for the last, 20 minutes, he's been playing this or that. Or they even check with me sometimes like, now, do we have this right? How much are you in for? Things like that. And that really makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So, Raymond, if you do have a choice of casinos, try to find one where there is a permanent box.
Yeah. Or make a stink. Have a hissy fit.
Yep.
That always
guaranteed. All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Brandon from Northern California. I was just making a call because I just listened to episode 269, and I believe Dr. Mike was in a grocery store or a gas station, and he ordered some stuff, a donut and an energy drink, and his total came out to $7.77. And he saw that as a sign, and he went to the casino, and he won. Didn't win the lotto, but he still won at the casino. I know you guys aren't too much to play with superstition, but I sure am. And my superstition is, the longer I stay away from the casino, the next time that I go, the bigger I'll win. So if I'm going once a week, I'm just going to lose. It just happens because I'm there too many times. But if I take a few months off when I go, I'm going to hit the big one like I always do, right? So I had been going, at least once a month for a couple years straight, and I've been noticing I've just been kind of not winning as much as I used to. So I figured, okay, it's time to take a break. So I took about 8 months off from the casino, lost all my comps, which isn't that great, but that's okay. We'll make up for that. And I decided, okay, I paid off some credit cards. I got rid of some debts. We're back on track. It's my time. I also have a promotion at work coming up, so we wanted to find a way to celebrate. So I called the wife and I said, hey, I'm booking us a room at our casino. We're going to go stay the night and we're going to have a good time. So based on my superstition, I'm ready for a win. It's going to happen. And I'm going to call you back and I'm going to tell you exactly how much I won because it's going to be a lot of money. The other thing I wanted to mention is I always try to recommend the casino that I go to like coworkers and friends, and it gets a little confusing because the casino I go to is called Hard Rock Sacramento at Fire Mountain.
You got kind of cut off there. I don't know why it wasn't at the 3-minute mark. But yeah, the name of the place is Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Sacramento at Fire Mountain. And it's located in Wheatland, California, about a half an hour away from Sacramento. So, it is kind of a strange name.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't go with Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Wheatland at Fire Mountain.
Would have been better. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Well,
aye.
We only recently got this call from Brandon, so he has not called back yet. But what do you think about his theory, Mike?
I love it.
Yeah.
I think Brandon has life figured out, Mark.
So you're going to have a pretty big win when you eventually return to Diamond Joe.
Oh, it's going to be a monster.
Wow.
Even if he doesn't win, I love his attitude.
Good. Well, hopefully he'll call back and talk about some huge jackpot that he had.
Some big, huge win.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Nick one last time.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike. This is Nick from Colorado. Calling back one more time. So after my trip report, I wanted to ask you guys if you enjoy watching poker, like videos of poker, if you watch high stakes poker or anything like that. There's a YouTube channel called PokerGo, and they have recently uploaded a lot of the old World Series of Poker main event coverage that ESPN used to put out. So they have everything right now uploaded from 2003, obviously when the Moneymaker effect happened, all the way through 2010 right now. They have, every, like, day 1, day 2, day 3, right? And then obviously they post the final table. And it's really interesting to go back and watch some of these. At least for me, I was sort of still growing up on that time frame and the nostalgia, but also like watching so many of the big names, Phil Locke, Daniel Negreanu, Tom Dwan, all of that. And then with all of that, do you guys have favorite poker players who are sort of well known in the poker world, whether it be Ivy or D-Negs or Durr or whoever it might be? Would love to hear your thoughts on if you guys watch poker and who your favorite poker players are. I would have to say Tom Dwan is my first place favorite poker player. All right, guys, thank you so much. Sorry for 3 longer voicemails. Hope you guys are doing well. And I would also like to reiterate what a caller mentioned, 6, 7, 8 episodes ago. You guys do take Venmo for donations. So if everyone just sends you guys $1 or $5 or whatever, it really does make a difference. Thank you guys so much for the countless hours of entertainment that you've provided. And hope you guys are doing well. Okay, bye.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you, Nick. Yeah.
Mike, do you have a favorite poker player?
Well, you know what? I do watch a fair amount of poker.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I enjoy watching Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah.
Just because he gets so upset about things.
Sure, it's entertaining. Yeah.
It's entertaining. I like Phil Ivey. Daniel Negreanu is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think he's always pretty level-headed. I get a kick out of Mike Mattisau.
Sure,
too.
Another character, yeah.
Another character, but he is a pretty good poker player.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I like Phil Ivey. I think I'd say he's my favorite just because I think he's the best.
Yeah,
and I kind of like the way he holds himself. I mean, he doesn't talk much, doesn't do a lot of interviews, but it seems like, he really knows what he's doing. So
he's not wacky.
Yeah, he's not wacky. Yeah, he's not maybe as entertaining as some of the other ones, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, PokerGo is actually a streaming service that you pay for. They do a lot of live streaming, or live in quotes, because there's always a delay whenever they're, streaming games where you can see the whole cards. But yeah, World Series of Poker, that's something that they do cover. And they do have a lot of free videos up on YouTube. So yeah, go ahead and check those out. If
they must really want me to join too, because I get an email from them at least every other day.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Well, you should subscribe. The emails will stop.
Yeah. Or I can just ignore it.
It's another thing to do. Send it to
I have so much, watching stuff like that, it's so hit or miss for me. So if there's no sports on and I don't have anything really important to do, I'll turn it to whatever channel I can find a poker game on and watch.
Yeah.
But it's hit or miss. So
Yeah. No, relax. You'll be fine.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right. Well,
I feel a lot better now.
That's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank a couple people for some donations. Mike, again, to your school drive. First off, listener Nathan, donation to Dr. Mike's school charity. Thanks for all the great content. These gambling podcasts are a great way to bide my time between Vegas trips. Thank you, Nathan. Also, a donation from our friend Ethan that we heard from earlier. Please use this money for shoes, winter hats, gloves, or hygiene products for the kids at Dr. Mike's school. So again, thank you for those donations.
Yes, thank you very much to Ethan and Nathan. And I am going to tell you now where their money went to.
Mm-hmm.
We found out this week that one of the 6th graders was sleeping on the floor.
Oh, gosh.
And one teacher noticed he was always kind of, tired. And she asked him, and I don't sleep too good, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's wrong? And he said, the floor's not comfortable. It's a large family, and I guess whatever reason, there just wasn't room for him. Doesn't have a bed.
Yeah.
So my daughter and one of the teachers found somebody who was willing to donate a twin bed. And then my daughter she works at Target, so she gets a discount. She went to Target and bought sheets and some blankets and stuff and pillowcases and a pillow, all this necessary stuff. And now that little boy has a bed to sleep in that's warm every night.
Oh, that's great. Great story.
And there was still money left over from their donations because she gets her discount and stuff. So that money will go into the fund there for exactly what he said. Winter hats, gloves, a lot of gloves. Kids lose their gloves all the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much. It helps so many people. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, that's great. Well, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations to the show. Robin from Anytime Gambling. Nathan. Brian Dancer. Josh. And the boys over at Crap Vegas. Oh, and the Crap Vegas guys, they sent us some nice Patreon gifts, Mike. I'll give you yours next time I see you.
Okay, thank you.
We also got a donation from Nick from Colorado. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you, Nick. And a donation from Chris from Austin. Congrats on 300. What an accomplishment. Thank you for providing me with so much joy over the past 4 years. I look forward to hearing your voices every 2 weeks. Well, thanks again. Hey, don't forget to visit our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike, what do you got for us this time?
Well, a couple things. I think first thing I want to do is say to our good friends, Mary and Paul, 300 episodes in your face.
That's right.
Because they both said, oh, they'll do this for a couple weeks and, they'll stop. They can't follow through on it. It'll be too much work.
I saw Paul last week. He's actually moving to Texas. He had kind of a going away party. And, he's kind of, he's still doing that show. Yeah, Paul, we're still doing it. We know you don't listen, but we still do it.
He never listens to it. Maybe when he's in Texas all alone and there's a tornado, maybe he'll...
No.
I think part of it, Mark, is that he can't really work his phone that well.
Oh, yeah. No, he'd have no way to listen to it.
Mary has no excuse.
No. She listens every once in a while, so...
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you brought up the idea of sending me a list of all the possible trips for this year.
Yes. And I talked about some possible trips on a recent episode of The Better Life with Tim. I don't know if he's published that yet, but yes, there are several opportunities coming up this year for trips to Vegas and other places.
Send me that list.
Okay.
And what we should do is, and now it might take me a few weeks, I'll try and figure out what works out time-wise and all things considered, and we should go on some of those trips because I do really miss going.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to get down to Diamond Joe next weekend if the weather's conducive.
Yeah.
Or the weekend after that. before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I know that right now it's pretty icy and cold.
Yeah.
But today it warmed up. It got to 12. So
okay, good.
they're saying that in a week or two we could be in the 30s. So
all right,
there
things
you
are
go.
starting to melt.
Yeah, that 30-degree weather, that's sweet. That's bikini weather for me.
That's
Mark.
a sweet spot. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Did you guys see me? I was on fire tonight. Man, I can't wait to get back to the shore. God, I love gambling!